still here.
It is, but I don't have any hot chocolate. Oh, yay. Did you just do something to that child?
Huh?
Did you just do something to that child?
No. That's probably what
Sounded like he was weeping.
I'm at. Yeah.
Troy, I'm so glad you're back. I am.
No, you're not.
Hi. What's up? Just getting ready to start class. What do you think I'm doing? Kind of like when if I run into students at the places where they work, they're like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "What everyone else is doing." Huh?
It's kind of cup.
Can you have a cup? I have different cups. You can have.
Coffee?
I'm drinking coffee.
There's almost what you can get that. You guys are regular. I want coffee.
Well, I don't have coffee for you. We have had
Why are you
hot
funny?
chocolate in here the last few days.
What are you funny?
What?
Leave me alone.
Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Why are you being so antagonistic? Right, thank you, Brendan. Thank you. Finally, somebody stands up for me against Troy. He is being so mean to me. He's just like coming at me first thing this morning. What are you doing? You're an insane person.
I love watching the little bubbles.
Little bubbles.
I finally did it.
You're so crazy. You need help. Do you not need this cup? Did you do anything to this cup? I handed you two in case you were going to drink something hot, but
Who is this?
all right. It's coming. It has to boil.
Connor Malone.
Whoa.
Who
Out
is
there,
this?
it's bowling.
I'm in a group chat. People are talking about it. Did he used to go to school here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, did he.
Did you hear about him?
Did
I saw it. I was trying to figure out what y'all was talking
he go to Allegro?
Boy, did he. That kid set my classroom on fire.
It looks like he attempted to rob a Charleston grocery store and got shot.
Yes, he did.
Second time.
Second time.
Second time? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first time?
First time he did it, he went to jail.
Will you close the door when you're coming back in?
What happened here? Hey, so what's the update on the?
Well, the first time was like right when he was leaving Allegro, or like he had just left, and I think he went to, like, he got locked up for a very short time, but then he like left and I don't know, worked on a ranch or something. I don't know. I got the indication it was kind of like the movie Holes. What are you doing? No, no, stop. He has to be in class. And then this is his second offense. So I would bet he's probably going to be locked up for a long time.
He could get 20
Is anyone surprised? Is anyone
He could get
surprised?
20 years.
No.
He set my classroom on fire. And flushed MacBook chargers down the toilet.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's
I'm not.
awesome.
He did make me laugh though, you know. He did make me
I
laugh.
need science.
He cheated all the time, but he was hard to catch. He was good at it. And one time I was like giving some kind of test, and he and Preston were the last ones working, and they started chatting. And just kind of jokingly, I was like, all right, guys, stop chatting. I don't want Preston to cheat off anybody. And Preston was like, I would never cheat. And I was like, well, I know that Connor would never cheat. And he was like, yeah, I'm not cheating. If I was, I'd already be done. Like, yeah, fair.
2018, he did the first one?
Probably. Yeah, it was probably 2018. Where is everybody? You know,
What is Troy mixing in there?
I don't know. I think it's just hand sanitizer.
You put hand sanitizer in it?
I think
I thought you
so.
put it with water.
I don't know what
Hand
he's.
sanitizer and water so that he can have some alcohol. and no
I don't know. That would taste so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, We get to learn.
All right, I'm gonna let people in, but we've only got three.
Oh,
No,
Sterling.
I like him.
I'm worse than you ever have.
What is that picture? by the way?
You might be the weirdest student I've ever had.
What is that?
That's
What is
a
that picture?
some guy with his belly out, it looks like.
Some people are like slings. They don't do much. But you smile.
That's fair.
Sterling.
I think I'm not kidding you.
Now it is.
Okay. Sterling.
Where is everyone?
Sterling.
But maybe his mic doesn't work. We don't know. Ian is here. Where's Corey? Was he in last
Corey
period?
is in my phone's class. You can probably mark him.
Well, I don't know that, do I?
Well, I told you so.
You could be lying.
We're not.
Why would we lie? I mean, if I was.
He's
gonna
supposed
lie,
to
I'd
come
say,
check
yeah, he's
in
not
with
here
me.
If I was gonna lie, I'd say he's not here.
Let
Can I
me.
go bring him?
No, I'm gonna message Mike.
Okay. Sounds good. That's probably fine.
Brendan is here. Hayward is not. Troy is. Eli was trying to be, and for some reason couldn't get in.
You know his
Has Sterling said
Wi-Fi.
anything in the chat?
Anybody know about Nate? Nate wasn't here yesterday either, was he?
Nate.
Wait,
is
stop working?
on the journey.
Huh?
I was yesterday.
I said Nate is on the journey.
I was yesterday.
Oh, here he is.
I was yesterday.
You were here yesterday, I know.
I
You were in my
I
class.
told you.
I marked you
I
present.
told you so. I told you what you said.
You're a crazy person.
I'm awesome.
You can be both.
I'm awesome.
Crazy and awesome are not mutually exclusive. You can be both.
That could be a t-shirt.
You can be crazy
Crazy
awesome.
and awesome.
What's one student you didn't like?
One student I didn't like.
Make sure your mic is muted.
Well, I'm thinking because most of the students I didn't like, I wound up liking. Yeah.
Bryce, you end up liking, or Bryce, you don't like? Yes.
Me? I read it a total of 3 times.
A total of 3 times. Well, you read Hamlet this year, which shows me that you've grown a lot.
Type in the chat if you can
I'm
hear me.
sure he can hear you.
I
Sterling,
would
can
like
you
him
hear
to
Chip?
answer me. Yeah.
Oh my God, very demanding, very
Yes.
demanding.
Well,
Who did I not?
What? Yeah.
Oh, he's talking to you.
oh, he's talking.
Yeah, sorry,
Same.
Gosh.
there we go. I have the wrong thing. There we go. Okay, calm down.
Okay. Sterling, say something.
Something.
So are you gonna be able to make it to practice today?
This just depends. Like, I don't think I have much going on, but we'll see.
What?
I'm really trying to think about like a student that I didn't like,
It just depends. I don't have.
that I never liked.
Okay, go, bro.
I don't know. Boy, Eli's having a hard time joining today. I don't know what's going on with his stuff. I mean, I've marked him present. I see that he's trying to get in, but it's just not cooperating with him. Is that how you write an E?
How did you do that? How did
That's
you
a
do that?
crazy way to.
What?
I've never
That
seen
is wacky.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you about it. It's just so unusual. Yesterday you missed, what did you miss? Oh, we went over stuff about Victorian literature. So you will want to look back at that stuff. But I'm also gonna talk about it a little bit with our assignment today. There we go. Eli's finally in. Eli, I saw that you were trying to get in, just wasn't cooperating. So in fact, I still have an Eli in the waiting room that's trying to join, but I know you've sometimes got internet issues. I marked you present anyway, because I knew that you were trying.
Have
yeah.
you seen Stover write anything? He writes
Um,
everything backwards. He
what?
writes E's like this. Yeah.
That's really
right?
upsetting.
Yeah.
That's really upsetting. I don't like that.
He writes it, he starts his 8s from the middle.
What? That is chaotic. I've never seen such a thing in my life.
I want to know, like, did he learn how to write everything wrong on purpose just to get under my, like, get under people's skin?
Just to mess with people, probably.
That's a very
He was
Stover thing.
he was like in a speed writing competition, so he was like trying to write everything quickest way possible. So that's how.
That's
he did it.
Like, is that quicker? I
I get-
don't know if it is. Okay, so we're going to look at some Victorian poetry today, and you do have an assignment, but we're gonna kind of do it together.
Can we forward it together?
Well, I mean, there's like four poems and between 1 and 4 questions for each one. And I'm gonna like stop after each one and talk about the questions and give y'all a few minutes to do the questions for that. So, I might not. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
On the.
So this, I think I've published it already. Let me just double check here, but I think I did. I did. Victorian poetry analysis. That's what you're going to go into. And let me know if anybody needs me to share it with them instead of the version on Canvas, which if the reason that the Canvas doesn't work is just because you need to authorize it and then refresh your page and it'll be fine. Or at least it should be fine. Okay, so the first poem that we're going to look at is called How Do I Love Thee by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And this is probably the most famous of the poems that we're going to look at today. The second poem is written by Robert Browning, and they were married and they wrote poems to each other all the time. But like she wrote a lot of love poems to him, and this is one of the most famous ones. In fact, in 9th grade, I had to memorize this poem.
You have it memorized still?
I do not have it memorized still.
Just do as much as you can without looking.
Well, I would be able to do like 3 lines.
Okay, well, prove it.
How do I love thee? Let me count the way. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height of being.
Nope.
Fudge. I don't know.
You got 2 lines. but you
2
messed
lines,
up.
not good. Depth and breadth and height. My soul can reach and feeling out of sight. Well, poopy doop, it's fine. Like, what kind of skill is that? I've never asked kids to memorize a poem because what are you gonna do with that? Like, what's the point? Just like impress someone and be like, oh, I can recite this poem that no one knows off the top of my head. I had to do that in 4th grade too. What a pain.
Maybe you'll memorize it a second time.
It wasn't this poem in 4th grade. I'm sure it was some kind of like, more children's kind of poem. But I had to memorize this and Annabelle Lee by Edgar Allan Poe and one other that I don't remember. Okay, so I actually am going to look at the questions before we read this one, just so you know kind of what you're looking out for. The first question is, would you consider this speaker more idealistic or practical? And I want you to cite one line that defends your answer and explain how it does. So is the person speaking in this poem more like romantic and idealistic and positive, or practical and like logical? And the second question is, would you consider this speaker more open or reserved? Are they like effusive with their feelings, or do they kind of play their cards close to their chest? And again, you're going to cite a line that defends your answer. So let's read this. Anyone want to read this one? No? Okay. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Ooh. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight, for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall love thee better after death. So this is the only like straight up love poem that we're looking at today. But even when I'm going through it, I can kind of see several things from the Victorian era that we talked about, like how it was a time of skepticism, like religious skepticism. And in the, like towards the end, they're talking about the love I seem to lose with my lost saints. Like I didn't know that I could still feel this way because I don't really believe in the things that I believed in when I was a kid, but you make me believe in things again. It's a pretty big deal. That line about I love thee freely as men strive for right. We know that the Victorian era is a very, it's very concerned with morality and honor and duty. I feel like that fits really well. So I'm going to give you all like 2 or 3 minutes to work on these 2 questions, and then we'll move on to the next poem. Did someone just squeak? I'm going to watch Hamilton for the first time with Miss Cathan. It's kind of one of those things where like I'm being a jerk about it, but I'm like, it's so popular. I don't want to watch it because it's not gonna, I know, but I feel like it's not gonna live up to the hype. So, but I didn't realize that all these people I like are in it. So in my English 101 class in a couple of weeks, we're gonna, as part of the curriculum, to look at some of the lyrics from it. And I'm not familiar with it at all. So Miss Cathan loves it though. Say it again.
I haven't had a speaking person in high school.
Oh, I know. Yeah, she just teaches middle school. And this year she actually only teaches 6th and 8th grade. Miss Cooks teaches 7th grade. Oh, Troy, I have to tell you something funny in a minute. Well, y'all are working so well. I just don't want to forget. Y'all are working so diligently. I don't want to interrupt. All right, hopefully that's time to answer those 2 questions. I'll tell you the funny thing before we move on to the second poem. So one of the other teachers that only ever sees you and me interact in the morning, and like you never speak to me in it during morning duty, she thought you couldn't speak. And that another teacher that has morning duty sometimes. In the school, yeah. So like every morning Troy comes into the cafeteria and I like make a big song and dance about it. I'm like, Troy, good morning, hey. And he never says anything back to me. And so she thought that he didn't speak. And I was like, number 1, that's very funny. But number 2, like, how messed up would that be if I was doing that to a kid who couldn't speak? Like, why don't you ever talk to me, Troy? That was really messed up, but very funny. I was like, no, he speaks. He says terrible things to me. Okay, let's move on to the second one, which is called Prospice by Robert Browning, the first person's husband. It is not a love poem to her. In fact, it's a lot more, the content is a little bit darker. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the one question that is relevant to this poem, which is what characteristics of the Victorian time period are displayed in this poem, and how do you know? So think about the things we learned yesterday, and I'm just going to recap them because I know that Nate at least was not here yesterday. They're very focused on honor and duty, moral seriousness, sexual propriety, utilitarianism, which again is the right thing to do is the thing that's best for the highest number of people. Religious skepticism. This was when survival of the fittest came about. They focused a lot on domesticity, like women being at home with children and taking care of their husbands. Realism, showing life for what it really is, even if that is upsetting in some way. This was when the middle class really became a thing, and when England was a military power. So keep those in mind. All right, so FYI, this is about death. Fear death, to feel the fog in my throat, the mist in my face when the snows begin and the blasts denote I am nearing the place, the power of night, the press of the storm, the post of the foe. Where he stands, the arch fear in a visible form, yet the strong man must go. For the journey is done and the summit attained, and the barriers fall, though a battle's to fight ere the guerdon be gained, which that's a word for like reward. I had to look that one up, guerdon. The reward of it all. Guerdon. That's what I thought too. I was ever a fighter, so one fight more, the best and last. I would hate the death bandaged my eyes and forbore and made me creep past. No, let me taste the whole of it. Fare like my peers, the heroes of old, bear the brunt, in a minute pay glad life's arrears of pain, darkness, and cold. For sudden the worst turns the best to the brave, the black minutes at end and the elements rage. The fiend voices that rave shall dwindle, shall blend, shall change, shall become first a piece out of pain, then a light, then thy breast. O thou soul of my soul, I shall clasp thee again, and with God be the rest. I think it's a really interesting poem because it is about death, but the attitude that he takes toward it is sort of like, bring it on, death, I'm ready for you. And he's like, I don't want to just like pass away mildly. I want to go out like the heroes went out. I want death to like come at me, bear the brunt of pain, darkness, and cold. For sudden the worst turns the best to the brave. Like at the last minute of your life, you figure out what you're made of. And I want people to know that I was made of strong stuff. So what characteristics of the Victorian time period are displayed in this poem, and how do you know? For the record, if it were me answering this, I feel like this bit is pretty good for that. Well, I guess kind of like all of that. Just like pretty much the whole poem is reflective of the Victorian time. So I'll give you all a couple minutes to answer that question before we move on. How are we doing on time? We're doing great on time. Yes.
That's why it's.
Because Queen Victoria was on the throne.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not done with my coffee. I forgot. Second cup. Café part deux. Guerdon. That's the subtitle for my dog. It is like a reward. This is my guerdon. Guerdon sounds like someone from my hometown trying to pronounce guerdon. What's that? Is that Gurdon? It's Guardon. I remember in Spanish class in 9th grade when we were learning like, como estas, and one of the answers is así, así, which is like so. And this one kid was like, como estes, AC, AC. So not great.
It's really funny.
AC, AC.
Como estes? AC.
Oh,
Okay, so what you should do is put water in it and heat it up at the start of first period. So that when I get here in second period.
you're good to go. Oh, I see. I would never want that. I want my hot beverages to be hot.
Yeah, no, you're
Like, I want to burn my esophagus.
freaking. I know, that's the. Just like being hurt by your coffee.
If I get Starbucks, I heat it up like 20 times. I'm like, it's just not hot
Heat
enough.
it up just once, It doesn't, you don't have to heat it up for 15
I know, but
seconds.
then
20
I-
times. You can heat it up for like 10 minutes.
No, I did, well, then it's just gonna be burnt. Yes.
You burned a liquid? That's crazy.
What do you mean? They're already answered? What do you mean?
Troy, shut up.
What do you mean?
Nothing. He
Are they
means
already
nothing.
answered?
No.
Oh, fudge. Okay, obviously
Dang
I've
it,
given you the
Troy.
wrong thing. I can't believe none of you were gonna tell me that.
This was gonna be an easy class.
So I didn't know.
I can't believe.
We were gonna go all the way to the end of class, and then at the end of class, it was gonna be like, oh, by the way, you left the answers on
The worst, because it was actually helping me answer the answers. Like,
For the
I was doing
record,
the right thing.
I don't know whose answers you have. They're not mine. So,
Right, so.
but like, what if they're not? And what if the person did a bad job? April 5th,
Well, just check their
2019.
answers, because that's what we're all putting.
Okay, but I'll show you, I was
This is what we're,
oh my goodness, man. It was helping me so much. I was like, I don't even know how to answer these answers, but like, it was making sense. to me. Like, the other answers, so I was like, okay. So this is it.
okay, so it's right now, and I'll give you time at the end to go back. We're gonna move on to the third one now.
Okay. I'm not writing anything other than nothing, but I'll just take the L's, I think, I don't know.
Yeah, you're gonna take a 0. You're not doing your work.
Jesus. You have one job.
The ball.
Oh my gosh. This is like, there's so much difference between some of my class. Like, I'm reminded of the time when my sub for the day just didn't show up to my AP class. This was 2 years ago. But they sat there and they did their work the whole time. Like, they didn't tell anyone until the last 5 minutes of class. They went across the hall and were like, Mr. Benvenuti, we didn't have a teacher this period. He's like, well, what do you want me to do about it? But like, they did their work. They got a Google Classroom and figured it out. It was Bryce, Peachy, Dom, Kiara, Ollie. I'm forgetting one person. Oh, Ava Rowley. That's why I forgot her, because she hasn't, she's dead to me. She doesn't go anywhere. I know, they're so great. Okay, we're moving on to the next one, which, by the way, his name is written correctly. He has a comma in his name, and I don't know why. My senior English teacher hated this guy, and I think the comma had a lot to do with it. Alfred, comma, Lord Tennyson, because he would always call him Alfred, comma, Lord Tennyson. Like, why is it not Lord Alfred Tennyson, you know? It doesn't make sense. But this one is also about death. And if you keep that in mind, then maybe the title will make a little bit more sense as a metaphor. And I'm telling you that because the first question is, what does the sandbar symbolize? You're gonna get beaten up after school today.
what the sponsor told me.
Okay, I think these questions are easy. These, like this set of questions. I almost, like, I practically told you the first one. What does the sandbar symbolize? The second question is to list 5 examples of diction or word choice that relate to the time of day. I think there are only 5 in there, so it should be pretty easy.
Great.
Why do you think Tennyson capitalized the P in pilot? Keep that in mind. This is about
Okay,
death,
well-
so
Okay, so how do I put different answers for the time of sleep question?
what do you mean?
There's only 5. It's the same ones.
No, that's number 2.
No, I think there's 5 5
Yeah, I
different
know,
examples.
But this person listed all. of them.
Yeah.
Whoever answered mine, how do I change that?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm so mad at myself. I'm mad at myself for
I'm
not
so
checking.
happy, dude. I'm
Good for you.
I'm so upset for it. I'm gonna throw-
And the 4th question, in a word, describe the speaker's attitude about death.
So yeah, all these questions are like short, 1-word answers. I don't know how to change these ones actually. I could maybe change the first question, but that answer is kind of,
Just do what you can.
I'm just gonna undo what he's written.
I'm dying to know who it is now. I bet I could find out. Okay. Sun and evening star and one clear call for me. And may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark. And may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place, the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. So I think I helped you guys out a little bit on this one by telling you it's about death, because I think if you don't know that going into it, it might be kind of difficult to digest it, sort of. But I think also in particular, those last 2 stanzas really help with the question about what his attitude is towards death, because he does say, I don't want any sadness when I go into this. Yes. Like,
So yeah, they answered it.
not that he's necessarily looking forward to it, but he's ready for it. And it's interesting to compare these last 2 poems, because they're both like accepting of death, but they still have very different attitudes toward it. So I'll give y'all a couple minutes to do these 4 questions, which hopefully y'all will be able to complete.
Chillax. In a word, describe speaker's attitude toward chillax.
Is that what they put?
No, they put comfortable.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I would put chillax in.
I'm just going to something else. I know I'm sharing my screen with you guys, but I want to see if I can figure out whose it is. Oh yeah, poetry. Oh, it's probably this one then. Deleted user. This would have been last year.
That's definitely it.
This is it. If I had to put money on it, I would say Molly O'Connor.
Because I don't talk like
Then this is definitely all right.
that. I don't talk like that.
Or no, I'd put my money on Molly.
This has
Let's see who's in that.
You think it could be a simple mistake? No, like,
Molly, huh?
accidentally, I think it could be a simple mistake. Like, accidental.
can't believe
Like,
so
oh, should've told me.
it was
I
gonna be
wish,
so
I also
funny.
wish it had been any kid other than Molly. Like, I wish it had been like Preston's instead.
Well, Preston done, that's really-
No.
Go to school here anymore.
No, I don't,
Yeah,
I'm not
Mr.
saying
What was
that.
that for?
I can
I call
usually
Preston
tell,
dumb.
no, listen, I
Huh?
can usually,
You
you're
think
not
if
letting me
Preston's
talk.
Answers, then they would be wrong.
I was saying I
Call him
wish that it
dumb.
was Preston's
He's dumb.
because he is, I think he's actually really smart, but his answers are usually funny. And like, you can tell that it's him because he'll say stuff like, I don't know, like I remember on the question, I don't know why I remember this, but on the Frankenstein reflection, he said something about the creature at the end trying to be Mr. Steal Your Girl. And I was like, that's classic Preston. Or if it had been one of my 2 students from last year who just rarely turned things in, that would be good.
Then you wouldn't have it to give it to us.
I know. It would have just been blank. I didn't, and I never would. Preston is actually one of the people that, like, when something clicked for him, we'd both be like, oh yes, you got it. Like, we both get so excited. No, I think Preston's actually pretty
I
smart.
wish I had more classes. with him.
I miss him. I think I just
wanted
really
to-
enjoyed
I wanted to
him.
get to know him better, but I only had him for piano, and we would sit at like opposite.
Yeah,
Shoot, you
He's
should
funny.
have that. You know when I had questions? What?
Well, yeah, there was lunch, but.
And that probably wasn't all that much fun. Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Nobody, Preston had nobody but Lyle lunch.
I was like. You got that.
Although, okay, I've never told anybody this story, but I think it's real. Sitting across from her eating lunch. And they were like doing that snuggling thing. And she was like petting his head. And then
Ew.
she stopped and I just reached over and pet his head and didn't say anything and he didn't even notice.
Hilarious. That's very funny. Where is, here we go.
My God.
All right, this is our last one, and it's kind of a 2-parter here. Because we're gonna listen to a song. Actually, you know what? Let's not listen to the song. Don't do number 4. So the first one, I just don't want to listen to it. As the speaker stands contemplating the sea, which is what this poem is about, Dover Beach is a real beach. It's someone like standing there contemplating the sea. So cite a line in defense of this statement, something that makes this statement make sense. This poem represents naturalism or nature's indifference rather than romanticism. So more about like what life and what nature is really like rather than this like emotional romantic idea of it. Cite 5 examples of diction that is less than optimistic, so more negative imagery. And why do you think he wrote this poem to his loved one? What was wrong with the world that made him so dependent on that love? So that one will make a little bit more sense once we actually read it. All right, this is Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. You probably could. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window. Sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles, which the waves draw back and fling at their return upon the high strand, begin and cease, and then begin again, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound of thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full and round earth shore, like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world.
I feel like this needs to be written, performed, I guess, in.
Okay, I'll try to be more monotone. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. Is that better? All right. So I'll give you a couple minutes.
How do we answer
to-
these different than how Molly answered them?
She might be wrong.
But she's not, like, I read the answer and I know she's right.
Do you
Like, I'm not
know
just-
it?
I'm not just saying, okay, Molly wrote this.
And zone out, that's how it was. Because I don't answer questions like these.
But
Sometimes
so,
you do.
I mean, genuinely,
Sometimes.
Like on tests and stuff.
a lot of these are like, there's only one right answer.
Like number 2.
Yes.
That's fair.
So how do we change those?
Well, if it's like a number 2, if there's only one right answer, then there's only one right answer, and there's nothing you can really do about that.
How do you want us to answer the ones where she answered it objectively the best?
Put it in your own words. Do what you can. I kind of,
This poem is very hard to read. I'm gonna leave that part. She
I
wrote that
recognize
down.
that I made a boo-boo by accidentally giving you Molly O'Connor's answers. I wish that once the kid was gone, their work would leave my Google Drive, but unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Although sometimes that comes in handy because I'm like, is there an example of something that I can give to students? And that's nice.
I don't know what to like do though.
Just try to put it in your own words. If it's like number 2, you don't have to change anything.
Troy, because it was gonna be so funny. We were just gonna sit and not say anything the entire class. And then at the end of class, I was gonna say, oh, by the way, you left the answers on the worksheet, and then I was gonna run away.
So mean.
It's just something, just stop getting sent.
I can't. Why didn't you say anything until like the second poem? was
I know,
over?
right? That's what I'm confused
I
about.
figured, like, once we got through the first poem, I was like, okay, nobody's saying anything. This is smooth sailing. It's an easy class. And then halfway through the second poem, Troy's like, hold on, let me interrupt you to tell you all the answers have been left on the worksheet and everyone else has to know these things.
Troy's logic does not always look like my logic, to be fair. I'm not saying it doesn't exist or that you're an illogical person, but our logics do
I
not
would
look
say
the
that
same.
Troy is kind of an illogical person. I don't think that's like a rude thing. to say.
No, I don't think it's rude.
Would
I
you
think
agree with that,
Troy just operates by his
You're a
own set of
slightly
rules.
illogical person. Definitely
Mhm.
words again.
Mhm.
We was showing a very good example.
Although, don't you think I would have been suspicious when all of your answers looked exactly the
No, I was
same?
gonna tell you when we left, and you could do nothing about it.
What a waste. What a waste of a class.
Yes, it would have been so funny.
All right, so that's it. And once y'all get that finished or changed in whatever way you're going to change it. And yes, probably everyone will wind up making 100 on it. Get that submitted and that's it. And next week, I still want you to submit it. Yeah. Because what if somebody else didn't catch on and they're like, oh, okay, well,
Like, I don't know even what to change.
I know change. I know exactly what it is.
Brennan's like, I'm gonna make this sound more like me.
Like if it's answered really good, really good.
Make it sound like you.
Just find a different example. Like what I did for the very first one, you go, right? You put picture up. I just chose a different section of the poem to talk about, and I left everything she said. Right. And reworded it
To sound like you.
Yeah.
There you go.
This is really long drawn out.
What?
This is really drawn out.
She's very thorough.
And that's why it's so hard to like make a new answer. Because she covered all the freaking bases.
Ah,
Like,
I'm gonna tell Sarah about this so she can tell Molly.
Change melancholy to sad.
There you go. All right, you virtual folks, I'm gonna let you guys go and y'all just get that submitted as soon as possible. Monday, we'll do a little bit more review, not review, but like preparation to listen to Moby Dick. And then Thursday we'll listen to part 1. Wednesday we'll have like a short 15-minute thing, and Thursday we'll listen to part 2. So that'll be fun. And I'll bring
It's gonna
more,
become glaringly
chocolate.
obvious what I wrote. and she
I'm
didn't.
sure. All right, y'all have a good weekend.